Brittany had an audition where she was just trying to get it done, and she had already had a friend who was going to read with her, and so she made the self-tape and she sent it to me. But I was also going to meet with her that day to talk about her headshots. So I said, I think we can do better than that. And why don't you tell them about it, Brittany?
Sure. So I got my most substantial audition so far this week. It came in like shockingly, and I had to have, it was like a quick turnaround, like 24 hours. And so I messaged Winnie. We were trying to figure out how we could get together. And we couldn't get together that night. So I asked one of my other actor friends to read with me. And so, yeah, just like Winnie said, her and I self-taped, and then I sent it over to Winnie, and she said, I think I can make it better. I did send Winnie like the breakdown and everything, so she had the full view of the story. And when her and I got together the next morning, one of the biggest things that changed the tape for me was Winnie pointing out that I wasn't, figuring out what my purpose in that story was as a supporting character. Like, what was the point of my character in the story at all? Where was I supposed to be pushing the lead? Like, what path was I supposed to be sending them down? And that really changed everything. Line to line, it completely changed the way that the tape came out, and it made it a lot more fun. I don't know. You can probably give more detail than me.
The scene was that she had to do was there was a whole bunch of mothers, and but the leading character is an unmarried with no children person, and she is a well-known designer. So she designs nurseries and things like that for these ladies. And so she's meeting with the ladies. They're all at the playground, and the women are all sitting around talking about being a mother, and she doesn't want to have kids. She just doesn't want to have them. And so first they sit around talking about childbirth, and they're talking about how painful it is and all the different things that had to happen. They got ripped and they had to be sewn up, and they were, it was very graphic. And in Brittany's character, I just go, oh, but it's all worth it, sweetie. And then somebody says, when are you and Aiden going to have a baby? And she's like, I don't think that's going to happen. And then she says, what? You're not having children? And they all make her feel so guilty about not having children. So what Brittany showed me was good, except for she was just more or less talking about childbirth, and then she was talking about how children are so important, but she really didn't take into account that the whole purpose of her character was to make the leading character feel bad about not wanting to be a mother. And first of all, she wasn't making the whole childbirth thing graphic enough, because she's talking about how it burns when you pee, and she was just saying, and it really burns when you pee. For months it does. And she was just very, very pleasant about it, instead of going, like, practically grabbing herself and going, oh my God, I can remember how horrible it was. If I just think about it, it hurts. And then what's also going on at the time is that one of their kids is up in a tree and nobody's watching the kid. They're just sitting there talking about being mothers. And then at the end of the whole scene, the kid falls down out of the tree and they have to rush him to the hospital. So these women are not really into being parents. They're into talking about being parents and making other people feel bad about not being parents. So what she has to do to serve the leading character as a supporting character is to be that thing that bothers her every time she goes out with other women. This kind of thing happens, right? So making the whole childbirth thing painful, making the whole you're not having kids, that's the most important thing in life. How could you not have kids? What do you even do all day without kids? As though there is no other thing in life to do unless you have children, if you're a woman. So that's what the whole thing was about. And so when she was able to, hook into that. It just had so much more personality and was funnier and all that kind of stuff. So really bearing in mind, if you have a description of the story, of who the characters are, and really, really everything I needed to make those decisions was in the script. Because, the leading character said, I don't really want to have children. And they say, oh, you do, you want to have children. No, actually, I don't, so all of that's there. Okay. Now, how does your character affect that character, that leading character? So that's a really good thing to bear in mind.
I think one of the other like lessons that I learned from that is like I was so focused on like learning the lines quickly and figuring out how to get it taped quickly that I neglected all this other information that was in the script for me. Like when you brought it up the next morning about how my character and the other women in my mom group weren't even paying attention to the kid in the tree, I was like, oh, duh, Brittany. Of course I read it, but it wasn't, I didn't take that information like into account as to the fact that like, yeah, we just say we how could you not have children? But and at the same time, I'm not even paying attention to my own kid who's about to like fall out of the tree and break some bones. I didn't even I just wasn't taking into account all the other information that was there for me to like help me make the decisions about what was about to happen.
So there is a lot to handle when you get an audition. There's just a whole lot to sift through and to look at. And even when it's a short little thing, even if you only have one or two lines to say, how you do those one or two lines is important. There's no such thing as a nothing part. And so if she had one line to say, if that one line to say was, oh, you do want to have children, right? Now, just that, you could say that line a million different ways, couldn't you? But how do you decide which way to do it? You decide because of who your character is, as much as you can, right? To know about her, but also how is she supposed to affect the main character? Especially since, if you're the main character, that's similar too, is how is your main character affecting the entire story, the message of the story. So just bearing all those things in mind is really important as you prepare an audition.